what is the most important thing you did early on to set your business up for success?
When I first started, I told myself, you know what? I don't care how much I spend on marketing. I just do not care. I will spend every last dollar I have on marketing, and I will even spend money that I don't have if that's what it meant. So I spent a lot of money into advertising, into branding. I mean, for people listening, it's really just, you need to spend time on marketing and advertising and branding. This is what people see. This is what people understand.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the long-awaited UpFlip podcast. I'm your host, Alex Freeman, and today we've got a special guest, Stephen Rogers, who was previously featured on our YouTube channel for his pressure washing business. Back in August of this year, 2021, 21-year-old Stephen was making $120,000 a month with his NW Softwash. And we'll be checking up on his progress and diving deep into his incredible story, asking a lot of interesting questions, and a lot of those questions will come from our fans. The best thing about Stephen is the fact that he built his company from the ground up with a meager investment of only $1,500. Today, you'll hear how he's managing his marketing, employees, how he plans to scale further, what his revenues are like now, and much, much more. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Alex, thanks for having me.
It hasn't been that long since our last conversation, but how has NW Softwash been doing the last couple of months? Anything new to share with listeners?
Yeah, so we're starting to roll into our fall and winter season right now, and so things will start slowing down as it starts to freeze outside. But we did just roll out our holiday lights, so we're going to be doing holiday lights this year. This is a new service, but we're super excited to roll that out.
That's awesome. By the way, I have to ask, are people recognizing you on the streets? The video we did with you had over 400,000 views. So did that have any effect on you and your business?
It really did. I was surprised. I did not expect to have so many messages, DMs, Facebook messages, emails, and also calls into our office. I mean, we've had a lot of people reach out. Doing my best to reach out to as many as the listeners as I can. But it definitely was a big hit. Obviously, it spoke to a lot of younger kids getting out of high school, maybe not going to college. And so looking to start their own business, definitely strung a chord with them, which I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's always the goal. We'd love to hear that. And for those of you that are listening that haven't seen this particular YouTube video, make sure you head over to the UpFlip YouTube channel and find our interview with Stephen. There's also a lot of great other videos in there as well, but Stephen's is fantastic, as can be attested to by the views. So Stephen, what's your average monthly revenue today? Has that changed since the last time we talked?
So it's still sitting around the same revenue that we've been doing throughout the summer, right in that $110,000 to $120,000 a month in revenue. So it hasn't changed, but we're hoping that throughout the winter season, as we do holiday lights, we will definitely have a lot more opportunity to even bring in more than that. And then of course next spring, as we ramp up our production and get more trucks out on the road.
So yeah, you've mentioned here you're adding holiday lights as a new service. What went into the thought process of adding this new service?
Yeah, my wife and I were talking, and as things start to slow down, as far as people aren't really looking to get their roof and house washed, for instance, in the wintertime, we want to make sure that all of our guys out working can stay throughout the wintertime. And so for us, it was like sitting around talking about it. Hey, how are we going to make this happen? And then holiday lights came up, of course. And we said, you know what? My wife's like, we got to commit to this. We got to do this. So I said, awesome. You know what? Let's do this. And so I gave a call to one of my good friends on the East Coast who owns a larger power wash company as well. And I said, hey, where did you get your holiday lights from? We've fully committed to making this happen. So I need your supplier's number. So he gives me a call. He gives supplier's number, and I immediately call them. I made a big order. We purchased a lot of holiday lights. We've got about 15,000 feet. So it was a big purchase for us, but it was like, you know what? We've committed. We're gonna make this happen, and we're gonna sell out.
Wow, that's great. And with the power washing company, you've achieved pretty impressive revenue growth in a really short amount of time. What has been your secret to scaling that pressure washing business? And is it just one of those adding more trucks and teams, or are there other ways to go about it? Is it adding those services? Is it adding holiday lights? What's the trick?
Yeah, for me, it was really about sales. I'm really, really focused on making sure our marketing and our sales is really, really dialed in. The production comes after that. So as we were rolling into the winter, I wanted to make sure that we could keep our revenue up and hit our goals. And so the holiday lights was a great way to keep that going. But as far as just making sure that we're bringing in revenue, it's super important that through the slow months, most small businesses have a hard time keeping payroll going, and unfortunately, they have to lay off some of their guys. So I knew that wasn't going to be an option. I didn't want to do that. That was kind of the main reason for the holiday lights.
And what processes does a business need to have in place before it starts to grow? How do you evaluate the effectiveness of your business systems and implement changes in a productive, non-disruptive way?
With our systems and processes, again, we're a new company, and so we're rolling into our third year in business. So it was something that we now are like, wow, we need those systems and processes. It's just starting out. It was like we need to get revenue, we need to get jobs, we need to get sales, and now it's like, wow, we need the processes in order to keep good people here that want the steady pace and know exactly where they need to be, and to have the good culture. We're now building out those systems. We're putting them into a SOP, standard operating procedure place where everyone can see them at all times. And we have an app on our phone that we use. Throughout the wintertime is really a great place to start putting those processes together, of course, because spring becomes hectic. So for us, it was like, wow, so this winter, we need to focus on getting those processes and systems down. And then next spring, when we onboard a lot more employees, it'll be an easier transition for them.
And looking back, all those years ago to year one, what is the most important thing you did early on to set your business up for success? And in the ensuing years to this point of entering year three, is there anything you did that impeded your growth?
The biggest thing that when I started, I knew personally that the only way I was going to create a successful business anywhere, in any industry that I did, is I have to be known and my business has to be known. And so when I first started, I told myself, you know what? I don't care how much I spend on marketing. I just do not care. I will spend every last dollar I have on marketing, and I will even spend money that I don't have if that's what it meant. So I spent a lot of money into advertising, into branding, and that really took us from the first year of me getting off the truck and hiring team members to having a few trucks and kind of stepping into the CEO, general manager kind of side of things. But for me, it was just, for people listening, it's really just, you need to spend time on marketing and advertising and branding. This is what people see. This is what people understand. And you're not going to need the best equipment, and we talked about that in the YouTube video. You don't need the best equipment, but you do need to be known. People have to know who you are in order to flow you, to give you money.
As you've been growing, I'm sure there's been a lot to keep organized and maintaining efficiencies. So what are the most useful tools for keeping a business organized and running efficiently? What software systems or other tools do you use, and why did you choose them?
So Google Drive is a really, really easy one to understand. We have a Google Drive folder with a specific user that's kind of our admin user, and then we have different folders in there. And so whether it's production, whether it's admin, whether it's sales or the HR department, we can go ahead and put some of those documents in there that are needed for us to get the job done correctly. And then the other software that we use is called Trainual, and this is what's an app on all the employees' phones. And they can go in there at any time of the day, search, how to wash a house, for instance. They could search how to clean a roof. They could search my time off policy. And all of that is already in there from what we've put in there. So we're constantly adding to it, but they kind of know what's expected of them. So Trainual and Google Drive is free, of course. So it's really an easy way to categorize stuff and keep things clean. But of course, with anything, it's really how you use it. It's not what software you use. That's kind of my best advice, is to use what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have, because that comes later.
And as you've been transforming your business and potentially implementing new processes, talk me through your approach for implementing a new business system or process. How long do you plan it? What's the planning stage before you put it in place? And how do you evaluate its success after you've implemented it?
Alex, I have this kind of motto inside my head is whenever something comes up, whether it's my production manager or my office manager, whenever something comes up, I think, can this be documented right now? So that way I don't have to reevaluate or say it over again. So I think about, can this be documented right now? Can this be written down? Can a video be made out of this? And that's how in the future I will save more time instead of having to go over these things over and over and over again. Let's create a video, or let's document that really quick and create it to a process. So really, when things start popping up, it's a question that, can I document this right now so I don't have to do it 4, 5, 10 times down the road? And that's really where you start to understand how you can scale. Is the more you document, the better you can scale.
I love that. That's really great. On the YouTube video, you talked about the importance of professional branded attire, which feels like it goes along with people need to know who you are for your business. Where do you get the shirts for your staff? And did you design the logo and shirt yourself, or did you bring in a designer?
We use a company called Finprint, and this is we love them, so I love giving their name out. But they're a company in Canada, and they work with the service businesses. They work with painting companies, soft wash companies, roofers. I mean, you name it. But they have a type of shirt that is chemical proof. So when we're spraying our detergents, we don't have to worry about our shirts getting spotted or So we go through them for all of our shirts. And they designed it. So, we went to them, we said, hey, this is what we're wanting. They designed it. They've got their chemical resistant gear. But what's really, really nice about it is everyone's wearing the same thing in my company. So it's very, very, like, the brand has been kind of written down and laid out. Like, this is what we're doing. And everyone's wearing black pants. Everyone's wearing our uniform top and hat. And so we're very professional. If a customer were to hire us, a year later or 6 months later, they're going to get the same experience as they got at the very beginning.
Is that clean and consistent branding a competitive advantage for you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So whether you go on our website, whether you go on our Facebook page, you're going to see very consistent branding. And for someone starting out, it's just so important. Spend the money. There's a lot of different places where you can get things designed, banners designed, postcards, posts for Facebook banners. I mean, all these things can be designed relatively at low cost through, freelancer websites. And it's just important to make sure that all the way across the board, you're representing what you value as a company.
One of the common questions we got after the YouTube video was how you go about accurately estimating your jobs. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, that gets asked all the time. And basically, I could run it through on how we estimate. But basically, we have right now there's three estimators that we have, and we go out to the property. Basically, the office gets the call. We'll schedule the estimate. The estimator goes out to the property. We have little drones that we give out. So the estimators can take up the drones, snap photos of the roof, take photos of the gutters. We know how full and how clogged the gutters are. And we can do this all safely without walking on the roof. Anyhow, and then what we do is we go on Google Earth. There's actually another app that we use. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically a measuring app. And we're able to go ahead and measure the entire roof. And then just go ahead and charge by the square foot. So, as an owner, it's easy to charge a job by how long it's going to take, right? But when you start expanding and growing, and you maybe you hire a sales guy to come help you, he's not going to know necessarily how long that's going to take because he's a sales guy. So it's really important that you have your pricing structure down. And for us as a company, we charge by the square foot or by the linear foot, if we were to charge gutters.
What are the most consistently productive ways to market a pressure washing business? Any new strategies you've been experimenting with?
Just like I said earlier, with being known, whether that's for us and for me personally, Facebook and social media has been one of the biggest blessings like ever known that I've ever done before. So I would always recommend do what it takes to get known, whether that's, is your customer base on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Well, matter of fact, most of them are. So if I were to ask someone, if they said no, I would probably be wondering what's going on because most people are on Facebook and Instagram. So be on Instagram. For us, it was like creating live videos and putting videos out into communities, local communities and local cities in our area. I would post videos saying, hey, we're in your town today. We're cleaning this roof. This is how we're doing it. This is who I am, and doing that more often than not will eventually get traction. And it just will happen where people will start noticing you and, oh, I saw you on that video, or I saw that in that group. It just, after time, if you do enough content, after time, it will pay off. People will know you.
So in the YouTube video and just now, you just mentioned the power of Facebook for small businesses. Is Facebook still your favorite place to connect with customers, or are there other platforms that are equally valuable for bringing in new customers?
Yeah, I would say Facebook is still at the top of the list. And YouTube, I think, would come next. YouTube's very powerful because the posts don't go away, right? The views are still there, and it helps on the Google search side of things as well. With the search, if someone were to search soft washing in Washington State, they might see a video of us on YouTube, and so they're going to be able to watch that video and understand how we clean roofs or who we are as a company. So I would say Facebook and YouTube are very much tied into each other, and YouTube is also a great tool.
When you're posting in an online community about your business or for your business, what makes a post from a business feel spammy, and how do you avoid that sensation? And is it, the frequency of posts or their tone that makes the biggest difference?
Yeah, I think being genuine is really the biggest winner here. If you can be genuine, people will notice. I think that's an easy thing to say, but in a video, format, you gotta be genuine. You gotta be there to help people. For me, I didn't really have a call to action all the time. I would just be showing the community what I was doing and what my team was doing. So at the end, I wouldn't say, here, have us clean your roof. That could be a little bit spammy, and that wasn't my message. My message is trying to get known, not just to have a call to action. So this is very important for some of you that have that long game in your mind of this is a long game. This isn't a short term game. So when you're posting the videos, think of it as brand awareness. Like, this is just what we're doing here, and we're in your neighborhood, and we're servicing your neighbors, and eventually people will call you, people will reach out to you. But as far as how often, Alex, we were talking about posting those groups. Yeah, you don't want to spam the groups. You're gonna eventually get blocked. But for some of these guys just starting out, posting once every week or once every couple days, it'll be fine. Making sure you're replying to all the comments as well. That's very, very important.
Stephen, we're entering the section of the show that we call our Fan Blitz questions. So I'm going to ask you sort of a series of rapid fire ask questions. Give me your quick you can use more than 3 words, but 3-sentence answer to it. And these are coming directly from viewers on our YouTube channel. So if you out there listening haven't checked out that YouTube channel, make sure you go check it out, interact in the comments, and you might hear your question in a future Fan Blitz question section. So, Stephen, here we go. Seth Schlurf is asking about your thoughts on Home Advisor.
Home Advisor. I'll keep this short. Home Advisor, it works, right? I truly believe everything works if you put enough commitment, if you have enough of a commitment for that. We personally don't use it, but I know a lot of other companies that do and have great success. So I feel like if you're fully committed, it will work for you.
Mike asked, have you ever wanted to quit, and what helped you continue through hardships?
That's a big one. I just like everyone else have those thoughts. So for me, this is not a short-term game. So I think of it in my life of how long am I going to do this, and what is my exit strategy? What am I going to do after this? And so I keep that in my mind. Hey, I got to keep doing this for my goal, and I always have goals that I have for myself, and that definitely keeps me going.
This question comes from Turner's Pressure Washing. Did I make a mistake starting my pressure washing company in Southern California? And how should I prioritize my focus towards residential or commercial?
Yeah, Southern California. I've heard that area is a little bit difficult. I would have to imagine they have a lot of rules regarding chemicals and whatnot. They also don't have the moss growing like we do here in the Northwest. So I would say wherever you are, find a way to become profitable, become the best. But if it's just not good in your area, my advice is to find something that is good for your area, whether that be a pressure wash company or another company. But be fully committed, right? Be fully committed to make it happen.
Chris Morlich asked, what would be the minimum equipment required to start up, and what are the insurance requirements?
Good questions. I would say getting jobs booked and then renting equipment is better than buying a bunch of equipment and not have any job. So you can go to Home Depot, you can rent a pressure washer, a J-Rod, and an X-Jet would be a really good place to start for soft washing. I would recommend an X-Jet. And then you just go rent a pressure washer and you're good to go. And then insurance, just to answer that question, insurance, there's every state has its own insurance policies. You probably just want to check with your state, but usually it's not a lot to get started.
And finally, Mike N is asking, what is the hardest part in the beginning? How long did that hardship last? And what's the difference between you and your competitors that make your clients keep coming back to you?
All about the experience, right? So we are more expensive than most of our competitors, and that just comes with the quality that we offer. As far as overcoming the hardships, it's hard starting out. It is when nobody knows you. It's hard to get people to know you, and that's where your mindset has to be on the long-term game. It's not short. And so for me, it was getting out of the truck. That was one of the biggest obstacles for me, was to hire a team member to help me, because I realized I could not do it all myself. So that was big in the whole scaling process.
Those were our Fan Blitz questions. Listeners, if you are watching our YouTube channel, make sure you throw your questions in the comments. We are happy to ask them as we do these follow-up podcasts with many of the subjects of our videos. Stephen, what does effective leadership mean to you as a business owner? What type of leadership style would you say you use in running your business?
I'm very much of the state of mind that that leaders or bosses should be leaders. And so what that means is leading from the front line. I think we can get caught up with just telling people what to do and not maybe showing them what to do or showing them a good path to take. So I think a great leader really empowers their team by showing them, by creating the systems and processes that we've talked about, and empowering them to make their own decisions, but by giving them the correct boundaries. Because it's one thing to give someone power to make decisions, but you can't go and say, why did you make that bad decision? Because if you didn't have the correct boundaries in place, so it's really, really important to have the correct boundaries so that individual or that manager or that employee knows their boundaries and how to make their own decisions within those boundaries.
Many of the business owners we interview have been experiencing staffing challenges in 2021. Has that been your experience? And how do you find and keep strong employees in a tough labor market?
No, we haven't really had a big issue with that. I've seen it, I've heard it, but we have not had that issue. So I feel like being at the top, as far as being the best, if you're committed to being the best, there will be people that want to come work for you. If you're average, it might be hard to hire people because there's a lot of average, right? So we really want to commit to being the best. And we've used the big staffing sites like Indeed, Facebook. We use all of them for our staffing needs, and it works well. There's a lot of factors that play into why a company may have staffing problems. Maybe it's a culture. Maybe it's the culture that you have, and employees. The employees that you're looking for aren't attracted to that culture. That could be a big fit. Another thing is the excuses, right? A lot of guys will make excuses that I can't find people. This is ridiculous. Where do you find good people? And it's really an excuse. And good people will come to a company that has a good culture, that's committed, and that's committed to the success of their employees. Good people will come. It's inevitable.
What does your hiring process look like? And what would you recommend to business owners that maybe don't have employees yet and are looking to start adding some?
Yeah. Hiring your first employee is always one of the most trickier ones, because if you've never done it before, you have no clue what you're looking for. You're just like, anybody that could just help me, I will hire. And that's what I did. And, I didn't regret it, but I did have to let some people go because I was still figuring out our culture and figuring out what I wanted as an individual and as a business owner. But starting out, like I said, the hardest thing is hiring that first team member, but also it's hard for you to let go, especially in the car wash business and other businesses. But it is hard to let go and let other team members do the work for you. I think that is one of the biggest things as entrepreneurs that we face. So if you can let go of that mindset, and you can just say, hey, you know what? I'm done. Next week, I am not going to be out in the field working anymore. I'm going to have this so-and-so person and this so-and-so person do it for me. Make that decision and be fully committed to it, because it will change your life. And it's great having a nice team around you and a team that wants to be successful.
Let's talk about your team organization. What's your system for managing your teams, and how are you tracking employee performance?
So we use a production. So we have all of our technicians on a production pay scale. So if they work faster, and they're rewarded for that, and that has to be tied with quality too. So if their work is quality and they're busting their butt, they're going to be compensated a little bit extra for that on top of an hourly rate. So that's where we're kind of tracking, how is this team member doing? How is this crew doing? Does that person, is that person not hitting our targets? Is this person going way over our targets? Awesome. It's just a good way to track and to then have your reviews with your guys every few weeks and to talk about their success, talk about where maybe they need improvement. It's really good to have some type of tracking software in order to do that.
Another viewer question from our YouTube channel, Sebastian Macutabal wants to know, how do you know if the market or area is oversaturated, or is there enough out there for everybody to succeed?
I truly believe there's enough out there for everyone to succeed. That's kind of an excuse as well. That's a great question, by the way. Awesome question. But for instance, out in my area, there's a lot of lawn care businesses. Our grass grows green. It rains a lot. There's a lot of things that need trimmed and cut. There's a million lawn care companies, right? And some big, some small. But the thing about it is there's enough work for everyone. If there's a lot of companies in that specific industry, that's one reason that you should do that industry if you're really looking into it, because that means that there's a lot of work. There's a lot of people looking for that service. And if you become the best, you can really, really capitalize on that. So I would never run away if there was too much competition. I would welcome that with open arms.
What is your biggest business challenge right now? Why is it a concern, and what's your approach to overcoming it?
As you start to scale, you can't always use your cash flow. For us, it's like, wow, I really want to go big. Like let's blow this thing up. And so with that comes the challenges of, okay, we need funding. We need to, have our hiring systems in place to where, how do we hire 15, 20 more technicians? Those are all things that tie into it, but you got to have that commitment. I'm fully committed to blowing this thing up. I'm fully committed to that. And now, where am I going to find the funding? Where am I going to find good managers to help me get there? Bunch of different things that kind of tie into that, but it's challenging. And, that's where the fully committed thing comes in. And I'm fully committed. Let's do this.
Stephen, you and NW Softwash have achieved a phenomenal amount of success, but not every pressure washing business reaches that level of success. Why do you think other businesses fail, and what mistakes do you see other entrepreneurs making that sabotage their business?
There's a lot that's packed into that question, and one thing is when you're fully committed, you're gonna make things happen. Now we all have fears, right? So that's fine. A lot of us don't know how to do things, but we take massive action and we make it happen. And so it depends on what your dreams are and your goals. You might want to just work by yourself. Maybe you've been working for someone for a long time and you just want to go out and work for yourself. That's totally fine. Like that's great. Good for you. But if you want to become big and you want to have employees, you need to get rid of that fear. You need to run past your fear and just go for it. I mean, there's so many things that you're not taking massive action on. And I know personally I didn't do in the beginning, but now that I'm starting to understand it, you start to get traction. You start to understand that, wow, this is doable. And with enough action and with enough getting past that fear, there will be opportunities that arise that will blow your mind.
Where do you go when you need advice or guidance as a business owner? Any resources you can share with listeners?
I have a couple different mentors that I run things past. There's always guys in your certain industry that have more knowledge than you. And those are people that you need to figure out a way to get around, whether that's paying for a monthly subscription, in a mastermind group, or finding a coach that is willing to mentor you for free, maybe. I mean, that's possible. But a lot of times, you got to flow some money in order to be a part of a group. But I would always recommend getting in front of the right people, getting around the right people, and that will be very strategic in your success.
One more question from our YouTube channel. No Carbs Nation is asking, what environmental issues / roadblocks have you encountered, and how are you managing those issues? Their understanding is there are some tough regulations on water runoff, water reclamation, chemicals, etc.
Especially in California. I mean, that's a great question, especially in California where things can be very strict, and in some other states as well. However, in order to clean a roof, in order to soft wash, you have to use chemicals. And, the siding manufacturer recommends it and the roof manufacturer recommends it. And so it's not something that's going to hurt the environment considerably. Anything that you use to kill off a bacteria is some type of chemical. And so in the states that you are working with that, you got to be really careful whether, Alex, just like you're saying it, whether you have to reclaim water, maybe you're not allowed to use a certain chemical, that's fine. There's always ways to make it happen. So you really just need to dive into your laws that you're kind of, working under.
There are people in our listening audience who are young, who want to start their own business, but have no idea how. What are your top 3 things you would tell them?
How? Yeah, to start a business is not always, of course, it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? So for the people just starting out, find out what you're passionate about, and that can help you achieve your goals, whether that's making money or whether that's, a certain service. Find out what you're good at, because I feel like if more people in this world focused on what they're good at, we would have really epic communities versus people that are in a job that they hate or they dislike, but it's paying the bills. So really find somewhere where you thrive and that you're really, really good at. That's a huge plus to actually be good at their career.
What's your top business book and why? What'd you learn from it that helped you grow your business?
Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone is one of my favorites. I'm also reading his Be Obsessed or Be Average. And that's a phenomenal book. It talks about being fully obsessed with the idea of growing your business or growing your family or your marriage. That has changed my life. I mean, I've read it now a couple times, and to be fully obsessed is really, for those new entrepreneurs, be fully obsessed. Like make it your obsession, and you will be successful. After a certain amount of time, if you put your everything into it, you will find success. And so that's been a powerful book for me. I would always recommend reading any of Grant Cardone's books. Those are great books.
Last question here for you, Stephen. What is your ultimate goal for NW Softwash, and what's your next step for getting there?
Yeah, I don't know if I need to share to everyone, but eventually as an exit strategy, I would love to sell and move on. But maybe that doesn't happen as soon as I wanted to, or I end up doing this a little bit longer than I thought. But yeah, eventually I think everyone should have an exit strategy in mind. And for me, this isn't like a lifestyle business in my book. So it'll be something that eventually I will either get get a partner and help out with this business or start another one. There's going to be others that will definitely go down in my book since I am still very young.
Absolutely. Stephen Rogers of NW Softwash, thanks for stopping by the show. And we're looking forward to continuing to whatever that next business might be. We'll be right here to kind of track along and see how you're doing. Thank you so much, Stephen, for stopping by.
Al, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate your time.
And for our listeners out there, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, UpFlip, and our blog, where we interview and share some useful resources and tools for business owners. You can see that at upflip.com/blog. Listeners, we've got more amazing interviews coming up. Make sure you spread the word if you like this podcast to all your business-loving friends, and rate and review the show. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, all.